Hi everybody, I am back with more reading progress and a monthly reset video for the end of May, beginning of June. A few updates. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Amherst with my mom to talk at Clark and Wilkins Elementary School and do our program about disability rights advocacy, and it went very well. On Tuesday night, we spoke at the Amherst Town Library, and we wanted to thank everybody who came to our talk. It was a great crowd. Yesterday, my mom and I had a meeting with Jolie from Bowdoin College, and we are going to be speaking there in December for their Disability Rights Awareness Week. So I'm pretty excited about that. The meeting went very, very well. What is going on in June? First of all, Matt will be on the radio on Sunday, June 8th on WMPG to talk about the psychology of bowling. That will be from 5 to 6:30 p.m. the same time that my radio show was at last fall when I did the Thanksgiving episode. Our art fundraiser for Double House will be on June 13th from 5 to 7 p.m. at 122 Spring Street in Portland. Our theme is Friday the 13th, so get a little bit of horror in your wheelhouse because our theme is Friday the 13th. The next thing I want to talk about, and then I will get into my reading wrap-up, is A Tincture of Time. My art teacher, Amelia, wrote a one-act play, and she invited me to be in it. I am playing, it's a medical drama that has a sci-fi backdrop to it, and it's really cool. We had our first read-through of the script last week on May 16th. Our next rehearsal is on June 1st. And it's a really quick turnaround because our opening night is on June 20th. I am going to pull up the rehearsal schedule in a minute. Amelia. Here we go. Here we go. All right, so for those of you who want to come see my play, get a pen and piece of paper ready, because here's the information with the dates. It will also be listed in the description. We have 4 shows. Tickets are going on sale in the next couple of weeks, and I will also be letting you guys know how much the tickets are once I find that out. That will probably be in the video that Matt and I make on the 8th, because I should have that information by then. There are 2 different performance locations also. At Mechanics Hall, the performances are on Friday, June 20th at 8. And Friday, 6/27 at 7:30. And the other 2 performances are on Monday, 6/23 and Wednesday, 6/25. The Monday performance is at 8 p.m. and the Wednesday performance is at 6:30 p.m. at Rising Tide Brewery. And then for the podcast, From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR, as I mentioned in the video that I made the other day, Kathleen and Matt and I had to reshoot the episode that we made on Sunday at Double House because of the copyright infringement issues with the music that was playing in the background. So part 1 was published on Sunday night on my channel. It was mother-child relationship and friends. Part 2 of this podcast episode is going to be filmed on this Friday. Our teacher Amelia is helping us refilm the part that got bogged down by the sound and the background noise. So that video will be up this Sunday on Kathleen's YouTube channel. And then Matt and I have a new video coming out on the 8th of June where we will be doing our May-June wrap-up and our Mother's Day commentary for Kim Possible and Little Mermaid 2 Return to the Sea, and the review of I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy will be in that wrap-up. And speaking of being on WMPG, Kathleen and I will be bringing our podcast episode from Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR to the airwaves of WMPG on Sunday, August 10th. From 5 to 6:30 p.m. We will be doing a happy birthday episode to honor Matthew Perry's birthday and my birthday. The radio show will consist of music from 1969, the year of Matthew Perry's birth, music from 1985, the year of my birth, reviewing Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, and reviewing 17 again, and Fools Rush In, and Our Town by Thornton Wilder. I will also hopefully be reading a fan fiction chapter. I haven't decided whether it's going to be The Elizabeth Effect or a chapter from my Friends and Gilmore Girls crossover TBR, or if it's the fan fiction, or if it's going to be the one with the drug bust. So I will be making a decision about that very soon. On to the reading progress. The first book I'm talking about today is The Mistress of the Art of Death by Ariana Franklin. I have read another book by her last month called City of Shadows, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoy her writing style. And I borrowed these next couple of books from my mother-in-law, Sally. I am currently on page 212. The next book is a book by Susan Cooper called The Dark is Rising. This is the second book in a series called The Dark is Rising. I have never heard of it. It is a middle grade book. It's very good so far. I am already on part 3, page 163. The next book is Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. This is another book I borrowed from my mother-in-law, Sally. It is by the same author who wrote All the Light You Cannot See, which I read last year and gave 4.75 stars to. This book is set in multiple timelines, and it's about libraries, which is really fun. I believe the settings of this book vary from Greece to Idaho or someplace in the Midwest of the United States. I am currently on page 380, and I am hoping to finish this book by the end of the weekend, but we shall see. The next book is the next read for my book club at Print Bookstore, which I just picked up at the bookstore on Tuesday, so I'm not very far into it yet. I am only on page 73, but I'm hoping to read more of it so that way I can be ready for the meeting on June 10th, which shouldn't be too hard. This book is called Idlewild by James Frankie Thomas. The next two books are on my new releases TBR. That is multiple new releases from the first 5 months of the year, because my library whole list is so extensive and books are on backlog because they were not in right away. So the first book that I wanted to talk about is Spells, Strings, and Forgotten Things by Brianne Randall. This is the newest release by the author of The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic, which I read last October for Halloween and gave 4 stars to. This book is looking to get a similar rating because I just loved the world building of the first book, and the world building of this book is exactly the same. And I just love the characters. The main characters in this book that are the romantic couple are Calliope and Lucian. Lucian also makes me think of the Knock 'Em Out series by Lucy Score, because that's one of the characters in that book. So yeah, I'm really liking the development of the characters, the world building. I just love Brianne Randall's writing, and this book also comes with recipes. In Spells and Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic, we made the scones recipe, and this time we haven't really picked what the recipe we're going to make is yet. We're still discussing it, but we will figure that out. We gave the scones recipe from Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic 8 out of 10. The next book is by Julia Kelly. Julia Kelly writes a lot of historical fiction set during World War II. This is my second book by her. The first book of hers I read last year was called wait a minute. I thought there was a list of her books. Where is it? That's the weirdest thing. I thought I saw a list of her books in here. Did I miss it? The book that I read from her last year was called The Whispers of War, and I will read you with the descriptions. Awkward and shy, Isabel Shelton has always found comfort retreating into the world of her mother's dressmaking shop, Mrs. Shelton's Fashions. The predictable environment of stitches, patterns, and fabrics has always been a sanctuary from the cruel, chaotic world that took her father in a tragic accident years ago. Izzy's beautiful sister Sylvia was old enough to watch her father's death force her mother to give up the respectable middle-class home and start dressmaking to support their family. That's why when she meets sophisticated, wealthy Hugo Persal, Sylvia seizes a chance for a better life, even if it means distancing herself from her family and creating a deep rift between her and her sister. When their mother dies unexpectedly, the sisters are stunned to find they've jointly inherited the family business. Stirring up old resentments in her feelings, Izzy's determined to buy Sylvia out. But when she's conscripted into the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, she's forced to seek Sylvia's help to keep the shop open. Realizing this could be her only chance at reconciliation with her sister, Sylvia is anxious to save Mrs. Shelton's fashions from closure and financial ruin. Through letters, the sisters begin to confront old wounds, new loves, and the weight of family legacy in order to forge new beginnings in this lyrically moving novel, perfect for fans of Genevieve Graham and Lucinda Riley. And this book was blurred by Christian Harmel, who I have read a book from her book that I read that I really liked was called The Sweetness of Forgetting. So, so far in this book, I am on page 56. So I am only on chapter 8. The next two books are on my TBR for Asian Readathon, which is wrapping up on next Saturday, May 31st. The first book is Immaculate Conception, which is Ling Ling Huang's new release. I also read her book Natural Beauty for Asian Readathon, which is about the beauty industry in Korea, which is very interesting. How their standards of beauty different from ours when it comes to like plastic surgery and stuff like that. Let's see what this is about. Enka meets Mathilda in art school and is instantly drawn to her. Mathilda makes art that is truly original, and Enka, trying hard to prove herself in a fiercely competitive world, pours everything into their friendship. But when Mathilda's fame and success cause her to begin to drift away, Enka becomes desperate to keep her close. Enter Scaffold. Purported to enhance empathy, the cutting-edge technology could allow Enka to inhibit Mathilda's mind and access her memories, artistic inspirations, and deep-seated trauma. Undergoing the procedure would link Enka and Mathilda forever, but at what cost? Blisteringly smart, thought-provoking, and shocking, Immaculate Conception offers us a portrait of close friendship, achingly tender and twisted, that captures the tenuous line between love and possession that will haunt you long after you turn the final page. So far, first of all, I love this book just as much as I loved Natural Beauty, and I just love this author's writing style, and the concept of this idea, the concept behind this book with the mind possession is kind of interesting. It kind of makes me think of the movie Inception, which I watched in February with the philosophy group that I was a part of. And I can't wait to see what happens next. As I just said, I am only on chapter 7. The next book is a crossover TBR. It is on the Asian Readathon TBR list and also Pride Month, because this is about a young boy in Vietnam. First of all, this is a graphic novel. It's called The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen, and it's about a young boy who looks to be about 11 or 12. He's Vietnamese, and he is gay, but he doesn't exactly know how to come out to his parents because his parents do not speak English. So instead of telling them in words, he writes a fairy tale that helps him to explain his sexuality to his parents. I'm not very far into this. I'm only on page 60, but I'm really enjoying it so far. The last book that I'm currently reading right now is called You Are Fatally Invited. This is a murder mystery that is set on an island that is off the coast of Maine. So obviously I picked this book up not only because it's a murder mystery, but it's set in Maine, which is where I live. And this book reminds me of The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, which I did not like very much. I just couldn't support the characters in that book because I thought they were really mean to each other. This book is really interesting, and it also reminds me of The Guest List by Lucy Foley because it's set at a spooky, haunted manor on an island. I am on chapter 22 right now, page 131. So, what are my anticipated reads for my June TBR? Let me tell you. First of all, my May TBR was kind of lengthy. So, there are several books on my May TBR that are going to be carrying over into the month of June. Let me pull up my list and I will tell you what is what. Oh, not again. I hate this. Alright, let's see. May TBR. Okay, so first of all, for Asian Readathon wrap-up, my favorite books that I read for Asian Readathon were Connie, a Memoir, which was Connie Chung's memoir. The Welcome to the Hyungdong Bookshop, which was a reread. Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I love her mystery books. The other mystery books that I have read by her are And Then There Were None and Murder on the Orient Express. Another memoir I read that will be in the video that me and Kathleen are making tomorrow is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. Another book that I read is I Am Not Jessica Chan, which is a YA murder mystery novel about a young girl who impersonates her dead twin sister to solve a mystery, which is very interesting. I read this book on Cloud Library app. For new releases, I finally read Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. I heard about Alice Feeney's books through Sarah Caroli. She really hypes up her book. She didn't like Beautiful Ugly as much as she has liked Alice Feeney's other books, but the only book that I have liked by Alice Feeney is Rock, Paper, Scissors. I didn't really like Beautiful Ugly. I mean, I liked it until the end, but the ending, the payout at the end of this book did not make the mystery worth solving. It was very anticlimactic, in my opinion. And then the other book that I have read by Alice Feeney is Good Bad Girl. So I have given... Oh, and I also read Daisy Darker, which I didn't like. Daisy Darker, to me, rips off And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. And I didn't really like that. So Daisy Darker got 2.75 stars, and that was actually a DNF because I just didn't like how it was too closely an imitation of And Then There Were None. Then Good Bad Girl got 3 stars. Beautiful Ugly got 3.5 stars, and Rock, Paper, Scissors got 3.75 stars, which is very close to 4. So yes, as you can tell, I have very mixed opinions about Alice Feeney's books. I don't think I'm going to be reading anything else by her, though, just because I was so disappointed by this one. Currently, I am reading Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt, which is her latest release. This is the second book in the series with Favorite. Now, I probably should have not read these books out of order just because this is based on the secondary couple in Favorite, and I haven't read Favorite yet. It's still on hold at the library. So I'm going to read this book and then reread it again after I read Favorite, just so I can get a better feel of the characters. But so far, I really like Tara DeWitt's writing. I have also read The Co-op by her in February for Valentine's Day, and I gave that book 3.5 stars. The next new release that I read for this month is Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. She is a new author that I was introduced to by Rachel Catherine. Anna and I buddy read her first book, Ready or Not, in January after we read Out on a Limb. And Out on a Limb and Ready or Not both have the pregnancy trope in them. A romance trope I was not expecting to like mostly because I'm not planning on having children of my own, so I wasn't sure if I was going to like a book about unexpected pregnancy. But with Out on a Limb and Ready or Not, I really love the writing styles of both of these authors. I really love the development of these of these characters in these books. Ready or Not, the main characters, the characters are Shep and, oh no, I forget what the girl's name is. I don't have it in front of me. And then in Out on a Limb, the characters are Bo and Win. And what I like, aside from the surprising of liking a pregnancy trope in Out on a Limb, is the fact that there's great disability representation. Hannah Bonham Young did a really good job of writing a character with a limb difference. When Win was talking about buying clothes for her child that are easy to button and zipper because she has issues with her hands, I was able to relate to that because those are the same fine motor dexterity issues I have trouble with because of my cerebral palsy. Promise Me Sunshine, though, focuses more on grief. The main character is in town for her grandfather's funeral, and while she's home for the summer, she is nanny to a 9-year-old girl named Ainsley. Ainsley's sense of humor reminds me of Waylay from Things We Never Got Over from Lucy Score. Waylay's Uncle Miles lives with her and her mom. Ainsley's Uncle Miles lives and this is the romance, the male love interest in this book. I liked the romance between Miles and Lenny, but I don't know. In some instances, their relationship didn't really seem like it would last too long beyond the end of the book. So if you have read Promise Me Sunshine, please let me know if you think this couple will stay together after the book ends, because I'm not really sure if they will or not. The next new release I wanted to talk about is called Story of My Life by Lucy Score. This is the first book in a new Lucy Score romance series, and I'm very excited. This book reminds me of Ashley Poston's release from last year called A Novel Love Story, because it's about an author who has writer's block, and she has to go on vacation to stay at a historical home for a week, and she falls in love with her she falls in love with the maintenance guy for her apartment that she's staying at. And I just love Lucy Score's writing. I'm really excited about her new series because I loved the Knock 'Em Out series, which is Things We Never Got Over, Things We Left Behind, and Things We Hide from the Light. So I'm really excited to see where things go in this new series, which is called Story Falls. My books that I'm looking the most forward to reading for new releases are the following. Kills Wells with Others, which is the sequel to Killers of a Certain Age. I Am Made of Death by Kelly Andrew. It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. My Friends by Friedrich Bachman. One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which comes out on June 3rd. Rules for Ruin by Mimi Matthews. And Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I will be tier ranking new releases at the end of June. That video will I'm anticipating that my tier ranking of new releases will probably be out by July 8th, just because I need some time to get my notes together, and then the 4th of July holiday will impact when I post that video. So expect that video between June 30th and July 8th. Okay, so for the From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR, I am still reading Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. That's on pause because I'm reading so many other books right now, but I'm hoping to read some more of it today and tomorrow to finish it. I have started a new mystery series by Catherine Cowles called Sparrow Falls, which was recommended to me by Rachel Catherine. And I have read the first 2 books in the series, Fragile Sanctuary and Delicate Escape. Both books were 5 stars for me. I really love this author's writing, and I found out about Fragile Sanctuary through a list, not only from Rachel Catherine, but from a list I found on Instagram about books that describe your favorite TV couples. And of course, this book was on a list for Monica and Chandler. And I think that whoever made this list on Instagram, I can't remember the author's name. I can't remember the Instagram username of the person who made this list, but I think that she did a really good job of selecting these books, because as I just said, Fragile Sanctuary was a 5-star read. And this book's main couple, Anson and Rhodes, definitely reminds me of Monica and Chandler. And the girl who is the niece of Rhodes, or the girl who is the niece of Rhodes kind of reminds me a little bit of like Ben, because he's the same age as Ben was before he leaves the series of Friends, which is like 5 or 6 or however old he was. The next book that I read for this TBR was Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I heard about, so Intermezzo was Sally Rooney's new release from last fall. It finally came into the library 3 weeks ago. I could not get into it. For me, it has been a ride with Sally Rooney's books. The only one I have actually liked is Normal People. Beautiful World, Where Are You? And Intermezzo were both DNFs at 45%. Conversations with Friends was 3.5 stars. and Normal People was 4 stars. So Sally Rooney is definitely an interesting author, and one issue I have with her books is the fact that she doesn't use quotation marks. So it is very hard to tell when conversations are beginning and ending. And Intermezzo focuses on 2 brothers named Peter and Ivan, and they are dealing with the loss of their dad. He died of cancer. And I read a lot of books this month that focused on death and dealing with grief. Crying in H Mart dealt with grief. So did an Intermezzo. So didn't One Italian Summer. So I need to read happier books for the next couple of months to offset the books that were about darker topics. That's for sure. The next book I wanted to talk about for this TBR is Jurassic Park and The Lost World. The first 2 books in the series, Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I am obviously reading this series because of Ross Geller's character, because he's a paleontologist, and Chandler always gives him a hard time because he likes dinosaur bones. So I gave Jurassic Park 4 stars, and I am 70% through The Lost World, and I think I am also going to give that 4 stars. The next book that I am going to mention is Most Ardently, but Kathleen and I are going to talk about that in one of our next 2 videos, so I don't want to talk about that here. The next Pride and Prejudice retelling that I read was Pride and Prejudice in Pittsburgh. So this is a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice that has the Pride and Prejudice characters going back and forth between modern day and the time of Pride and Prejudice, because the main character, Lucy, falls in love with Audrey, who is a person from Pride and Prejudice times. It's a very interesting way to retell Pride and Prejudice. I loved this book. It was recommended to me by A Book Olive, and she really recommends me very good books. Most Ardently was recommended to me by Carrie Kenrees, and this is the only book that she has recommended to me that I did not like, and I will get into that more in the video I do with Kathleen. Back now to the general TBR. The first book I wanted to talk about is another book that was recommended to me by A Book Olive. It is called At Loggerheads by Kristen Ness. This is a murder mystery book that is set on the beaches of South Carolina. And one day this sea turtle scientist finds a washed up body on the beach, and then an hour later she finds a dead turtle on the same beach that the human washed up on. And I really loved the twists and turns of this murder mystery. So if you want to read it, I highly recommend it. I don't want to spoil the ending, but I just loved how atmospheric it was, and it's a perfect summertime thriller because it's set on the beaches of North Carolina. The next book I wanted to talk about is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I heard about this book through Mariana Moore, who is friends with Larry. Larry and Mariana picked their own TBRs for April, and this was one of the books that Larry picked for Mariana. I do not understand why people like Penelope Douglas's writing. This book was okay. I don't really necessarily think dark romances are for me, though. This is the second dark romance book I have read. The first one was My Dark Vanessa, which I didn't like because it was a student-teacher romance. Birthday Girl is about a girl who I believe is in her mid-20s who falls in love with her ex-boyfriend's dad named Pike. And he is in his mid-40s. So I guess I just don't like the dynamic of girls in their teens and early 20s being with older guys. And I guess it makes me regret writing the mature version of my friend's fanfiction, Uncle Chandler, I Love You. I wish I never wrote that now, because reading books like this makes me think about how gross that relationship dynamic is. So that fanfiction chapter is going into my archives. The next book I just finished reading is called Blue Sisters. This is by Coco Malors, who also wrote Cleopatra and Frankenstein. This book is about three sisters who live all across the world, and they reunite for their fourth sister's funeral because she dies of a heroin overdose. And this is another book I read that deals with grief. This was the fourth book I read in the month of May that deals with grief, which is why I drive myself back to the point that I need to read happier books this month, because if I read one more sad book about people losing a loved one, I think I'm going to go into a reading slump. The next book that I finished reading recently was Clara and the Sun by Kazuko So I can't pronounce this author's name, I'm sorry, but he is a Japanese author. This book was translated from Japanese. It's about a little girl and her AI robot. So this book reminds me a little bit of Anibot, but instead of being a robot that is owned by a guy who's kind of sex obsessed, this is more a book about friendship, because it's about a mother who buys a AI robot for her teenage daughter who is really lonely, and I really like the friendship that builds up between the robot and the little girl. It's very sweet. This author is also the author of Never Let Me Go, which is on my From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR for next month. The next book I wanted to talk about is Middle Game by Sean McGuire. This is on my TBR for comfort TV shows. This is a series that somebody on Instagram put together which has listings of different books that have similar themes to comfort TV shows. Middle Game is about vampire hunting, so it's obviously similar to the TV show Supernatural, which has Jared Padalecki. Please correct me if I'm saying that name wrong. It's the guy who plays Dean on Gilmore Girls. He also is on Supernatural as Sam Winchester. I just can't pronounce this actor's last name, so leave me a comment with the correct pronunciation. I would appreciate it. The next book I wanted to talk about is called Twice in a Blue Moon. This is a romantic comedy book by Christina Lauren, the same author pairing, because they are two authors who are best friends who use their first names as a pen name. One girl's name is Christina, the other's name is Lauren. So I have liked a lot of books from them. The only book I did not like was their new release from last May called The Paradise Problem. But with this book, I really liked the romantic build-up between the couple, and I gave this book 4 stars. Another book that I read by Christina Lauren, is, hang on, I need to look it up. Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. And this book is on my Comfort TV Shows TBR, and it is paired up with the TV show New Girl. And I think that whoever put this list out on Instagram about Comfort TV shows, this was also on a TV show listing on Instagram that I found about book recommendations that are specific to New Girl. So I think both people who, I cannot remember which people on Instagram put these lists together. There are so many lists on Instagram that I get these recommendations from. It's actually kind of insane. But yeah, I gave Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating 4.5 stars because the reason why I think this is a good book that pairs with New Girl is because the couple reminds me so much of Jess and Nick. It's not even funny. Other books I read this month for this TBR were Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, which was a reread. Mariana Moore also reviewed this in one of her recent wrap-ups, and she said that it is kind of a cut and paste story of Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, which I actually agree with, sadly. And yeah, just like Love in Other Words, I didn't like the issue that broke apart this main couple. Percy and Sam. I remember one character's name from Love in Other Words. Maisie? I think that's the girl's name. And then I think the guy's name is Eli. But yeah, the plot to both of these books is similar. So if you know the plot of Love in Other Words, you will get the basic plot of Every Summer After. And I'm excited about Carly Fortune's new release, One Golden Summer. To rate her books, I gave Every Summer After 3.5 stars. Meet Me at the Lake 3 stars because I thought the main female girl was whiny. And This Summer Will Be Different, which was her new release from last year, I gave 4 stars. Okay. Oh. We are getting to the end, which is good. Okay. Oh, and I also read the third Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants book. I just finished that book on Tuesday. And, I mean, I really love how the relationships are building up with all these characters. My favorite character in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants is Lena. I do not want to get too far into my thoughts on this book because Kathleen and I will be reviewing it in our video tomorrow, so I don't want to repeat myself. So just stay tuned, and my next reading progress video will be out on June 4th. So stay tuned. Have a good day. Weekend. Have a happy, fun, safe Memorial Day weekend.